Russian military commanders led the negotiations on behalf of the Syrian government. Rebel factions controlling the northern countryside of Homs were given an ultimatum: reconcile with the state or surrender and move to rebel-held territory in northern Syria to avoid an all-out military offensive. Military pressure has piled on the armed groups. A few days ago, the pro-government alliance heavily bombarded the region, which is at a strategic crossroads linking the main population centers under government control. The opposition had little choice. Around 300,000 Syrians live there, many of them forced from their homes elsewhere in Syria. The northern Homs countryside is the latest rebel-held area to surrender. The opposition has been losing ground since its biggest defeat in years. The fall of eastern Ghouta in early April followed a fierce and intense bombing campaign. The pro-government alliance then used the threat of military action to force rebels in the Kalamoun enclave northeast of Damascus to bring about their surrender. The same tactic was used on opposition armed groups in southern Damascus. Rebels in the districts of Yalda, Babila, and Beit Sahem agreed to leave. Some 17,000 people, fighters, their family members, and others who were involved in opposition activities are leaving. In the nearby ISIL-controlled districts of Yarmouk and Hajar al-Aswad, the fighting continues between the armed group and government forces. But in those districts, there were a few hundred fighters belonging to Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the group formerly known as al-Nusra. They surrendered and were moved to northern Syria. The opposition continues to control the province of Idlib in the northwest border with Turkey. They also hold parts of the southern provinces of Dara and Sweida, close to the borders of Jordan and Israel. In recent weeks, the pro-Syrian government alliance has been focusing on recapturing besieged areas close to its strongholds. Northern Homs is the last significant piece of territory the rebels control that is not along an international border. What comes next is more complicated. Any offensive to recapture the whole of Idlib province would cause tensions with Turkey, which deployed troops as part of an agreement with Russia.
Russia puts a high value on this agreement with Turkey. They know they need Turkey to solve the situation in the north of Syria if they ever want to solve it.
An offensive in the southern corner of Syria is also just as complicated. There is the possibility of escalating tensions with Israel.
The Israelis are worried that if the Syrian regime, if the Syrian army advances toward the border, they will come with Iranian or Iranian-affiliated militias.
President Bashar al-Assad has repeatedly pledged to recapture every inch of Syrian territory, but future military operations may have different calculations.